We're recording. I'm going to press start. Here we go. Okay, we're live. We have community members joining us now. So I don't know who wanted to start, but we're ready to go.
Next item 2A, the superintendent's report. Dr. Prendergast.
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz, and good afternoon, everyone. After many months of careful planning, I am pleased to report that we had a fairly smooth start to the new school year. We had a very good first week of school, and it's been amazing to see our students and staff back in our school buildings for the first time since March. Our teachers have done an amazing job preparing lessons, some in person, some remotely, and some are juggling both simultaneously. This is a completely new way of teaching and learning, and we are grateful to the entire community, including our students, for their understanding as we navigate this new landscape together. It took a tremendous amount of work to get our long-awaited plan up in place. So I do want to thank our administrators, our building principals, and all the staff who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, who put our reopening plan into action. And our custodial staff, transportation, food services, and our support staff, again, are our unsung heroes, and I thank them very much for their endless hours of preparation. So now that we've successfully reopened the schools, we want to keep it that way. So I do want to reiterate the fact that each and every one of us has a role to play in keeping our schools safe. We can all do our part in terms of making sure that we remember to follow the 3 W's. That's what we're teaching our students. And that is to wash your hands, wear a mask, and to watch your distance. Social distancing is so very important. So if we follow these health guidelines, we can help keep our community safe and our schools open. Working in partnership with our parents and community members, we have overcome daunting challenges over the last 6 months. And it's in all likelihood, we will encounter some other unexpected obstacles in the weeks and months ahead. But I am confident that we will continue to persevere by working together and by supporting one another. During our first day of school, the district welcomed 6,858 students into our programs, grades pre-K through grade 12. We have 843 elementary students enrolled in our pre-K through grade 5 exclusive remote learning program. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Feldman for her leadership and for her willingness to serve as our interim director, serving the elementary remote learning program. So we all know the impact of this pandemic. It has caused stress for people, and fear and anxiety about this new disease and what could happen can be overwhelming and can cause strong emotions in adults as well as children. This summer, our district joined the Nassau BOCES Mental Health Consortium, which provides guidance and resources in areas of mental health and social and emotional learning. I wanted to take this time to offer my thanks to Dr. Allison Brennan, who participated in all of the summer workshops. The information that she garnered was incredibly helpful in our district's planning for the return to school. Many of these resources have already been shared with our school psychologists, our social workers, and our staff. And towards that end, I wanted to acknowledge that on Tuesday, September 22nd at 7 p.m., there will be a joint presentation sponsored by SHI and the UPTC. And it's focusing for parents and teenagers, focusing on anxieties and living through a pandemic and the impact on one's mental health. So we look forward to inviting everyone. I'm sure you will receive a Zoom invitation in the near future. Also, 2 weeks ago, Section 8 announced that Nassau County would be postponing our athletic programs until January of 2021. And last week, Suffolk County's Section 11 made a similar announcement. While I know this announcement was disappointing news for many of our student athletes, I do know that the decision was made out of abundance of caution to protect the health and wellness of all Long Island athletes, their coaches, as well as their families. Announcements will be forthcoming. Modified sports seasons are expected to resume after the new year. North and South high schools will be administering a school day ACT exam to high school seniors on Tuesday morning, October 6th. The SAT exam will also be administered in school to interested high school seniors on Wednesday morning, October 14th. And in addition, the district will also be administering the PSAT exam to interested sophomores and juniors on Wednesday morning, October 14th. Specific information will be forthcoming regarding these exams by your building administrators. And speaking of the PSAT, I am very pleased to announce that we have 29 exceptional students being recognized as semi-finalists for the National Merit Scholarship Program. These students scored among the highest scoring entrants on the New York State 2019 PSAT exam. They are absolutely academic role models for students in our district, and I do want to wish them the best of luck as they continue in the next phase of this prestigious competition. And just as a point of reference, 29 students is the highest number of students being recognized that I have found over the last 7 years in looking at our records. So aside from preparing for the reopening of school with preparations for health and safety, our construction projects continued throughout the summer months as well. So some of the projects that we have been working on include the South High School and South Middle School window replacements, South High School's boys locker room renovation, Lakeville School and Saddle Rock School roof replacements. We've just started to begin our exterior door replacement projects for Lakeville School and Saddle Rock School. We've completed bathroom renovations at Parkville School, South Middle School, North High School, as well as E.M. Baker. We constructed a new mini bus loop for our Parkville School entrance for the mini buses. We have electrical upgrades for Parkville School and JFK School. We have completed a replacement of our South Middle School tennis courts. North Middle School Polo Road sidewalks and walkway replacement projects were completed. We've begun our work with E.M. Baker's School, as well as completing an auxiliary gym floor replacement program in that building. We've started work on the replacement of an elevator at JFK, and we're beginning irrigation and drainage projects for North Middle School, North High School fields. And we've also completed the renovation of the South Middle School bus ramps, bus canopies, excuse me, as well as we've completed painting projects in several of our buildings. I do want to acknowledge our custodial and our maintenance staffs. They have done an incredible job, not only preparing for the reopenings of school, but taking care of all health and safety guidelines that we've incorporated into our plans. We're very excited to be back. We're only in school 7 days, but our children are finding themselves quite familiar. And I have to tell you, nothing is more joyful than seeing teachers and students back in our buildings. So I want to thank everyone in advance for your ongoing support, cooperation, as we continue to maintain a healthy and safe environment for everyone. And that, Mrs. Berkowitz, concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prendergast. Next item on our agenda is item 2B as amended. I'd like to make a motion, please, to appoint Ms. Stacy Padone, District Clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Feldman, would you please go ahead and administer the oath of office to Ms. Padone?
Of course. Ms. Padone, please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
I,
state your name.
Stacy Padone,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of District Clerk
of District Clerk
of the Great Neck Union Free School District
of the Great Neck Union Free School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To C, again, as amended, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. John Powell as the Deputy District Clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, Mr. Feldman, would you please administer the oath?
My pleasure. Mr. Powell, raise your right hand and repeat after me. You have to take the mute off, John.
I,
There you go. State your name.
John Powell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Deputy District Clerk
of Deputy District Clerk
of the Great Neck Union Free School District
of the Great Neck Union Free School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Powell. Next item is 2D, is the policy. I'll turn it over to Ms. Perez, who chairs our policy committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. There is only one policy for your consideration this evening, and it is for a one-time reading. Due to our remote learners now and the use of so much technology, there was a request to assign middle school students an email, and this policy addresses that. Prior to this, only high school students had an email in the district, and now this will address allowing middle school students to do that. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Thank you.
Any nays? No nays? Terrific. Next, items 2E and F. These are necessary adjustments due to the pandemic. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Items 2G and H. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Items 2I through K. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 2L as amended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 2M, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? I just wanted to explain that this is an item where there was damage caused by lightning at the Baker. This check covers the repair for the replaced part. Item 2N, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 2O, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? I thank you for the donation of money to purchase masks. Items 3A through C, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Items 3D and E, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Items 3F and G, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 3H as amended, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 3I, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Items 4A and B, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any nays? Item 5.1 A through G and 5.2 A through G. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Are there any nays? Okay, next we have open time. And for open time, as many of you know, we have requested any questions to be submitted in advance. We will also be taking live questions, but I will start and I will read all of the questions. First one, please make it possible that remote and hybrid students receive the regular remote phys ed lessons. The Park District and other organizations were offering live Zumba, karate, and yoga classes remotely during the pandemic. Dr. Lando, would you please take that question?
Certainly. During the first 2 days of school, the school from which this student belongs was on a slightly different schedule in order to just get the school year started. And students that went into class on those first 2 days did have attendance taken and then were given some asynchronous work to complete. However, the students are now engaged in live synchronous learning going on in those classes. It's my understanding that the feedback with regard to the lessons that have been taking place has been positive following that. And also that the teacher has been in contact with the parent who raised this particular question. It's a good protocol for a parent to follow that chain of command, where they go first to the teacher, then to a department head, and so on, because they might get a faster answer to their question and be able to have something resolved very quickly if they follow that protocol.
Next question. Can you please walk the community through the thought process of retaining the open campus at North High and allowing the students to leave en masse along Brokaw onto a 4-block area on Middle Neck Road? And is this a health risk to the people who live around the school? Again, Dr. Lando.
Thank you. So no, it's not a health risk to the people that live around the school because they are not having contact with the students themselves. And by contact, the definition has been covered in previous meetings, is 10 minutes or more within 6 feet of another person who is not wearing a mask. So there's not a health risk. And as a matter of fact, the distancing that occurs when students are outside actually reinforces the concept that open air and people in the open air helps prevent transmission. That combined with the fact that our schools are reinforcing, and North High School in particular is reinforcing the students that they should wear their masks when they are outside and within 6 feet of anyone else to continue safety. And they've communicated that in writing and verbally to their students is something that's helpful. And in addition, our high schools have only half the population present on any given day. So the numbers of students are fewer than there would have been had we not adopted the hybrid model that's in place.
Thank you. Next question. How many retirements and resignations by the staff have been submitted since July 1st? Ms. Kirby, would you please take that?
Yes, good evening. Since July 1st, we have had 6 retirements and resignations of our full-time faculty. And those faculty members have been replaced by equally certified New York State teachers.
Thank you. And the next part, I believe you've already answered. Has the district been able to reassign their course loads? Ms. Kirby?
Yes, we have hired equally certified teachers to replace the 6.
Thank you. Next. Originally, we were told that any instrument that could not be played with a mask would be transferred to remote learning. I then learned that all music programs have been suspended. Is there any initiative to repeat the summer enrichment music learning model during the school year? Ms. Newman?
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz, and good evening, everyone. Although all elementary students continue to receive general music instruction in their classrooms this year with a music certified educator, we did indeed have to make a decision to suspend the elementary instrumental music program. We did that because we feel it's critical to keep the students within their individual class cohorts throughout the school day and not mix them with students from other classes or grades to ensure our students' health and safety as well as the health and safety of our teachers. However, we do very much appreciate this suggestion to replicate something similar to our district's remote summer music program. And we are already exploring the possibility of offering something remotely for elementary students that could be offered through our district's recreation program.
Thank you. Next question. Why wasn't a virtual academy used in the secondary schools as it was in the elementary schools? Even if it was difficult to schedule for all classes, doing it for some would have helped create a much better learning environment. Dr. Lando?
We actually looked at creating a virtual academy, and our middle schools and high schools spent a solid week looking at that particular model, both for all classes and for some classes. It's not feasible to do it at the secondary level. Student scheduling choices, even in 6th grade, where the variables are language choice, level of mathematics, performance music choice, and the need for support services and team assignment, would not allow for creating such academies without extending the school day or having students participate in instruction during their lunch periods. At the high school level, the number of options for students increases dramatically, with many courses offered across grade levels and having Regents, honors, and/or AP designations. The number of students requesting remote instruction in Singleton and Doubleton courses would not warrant separate virtual sections for these classes. And in multi-section courses, where one might try to aggregate students, doing so would require them to change their elective choices. On top of all that, even if one were to be able to physically create the schedule, unlike the elementary level, where classroom teachers have one general license to teach the broad curriculum, at the secondary level, different licenses required in each area. And in science and world language, the requirement is even more specific than that. So even if we'd been able to create a schedule that could work, we would not have been able to find the staff to fill those positions. I can tell you from our experience in hiring in general, that it's difficult to find the quality of people that we want in Great Neck that have the appropriate license. In these particular cases, we would be looking for temporary, not tenure track employees, and in most cases looking for part-time employees. And the simple fact is that the quality of candidate that we would want to hire with the appropriate license is simply not available, especially at this time, because every district is looking to fill last-minute positions due to the crisis that we're facing. We did also examine some remote and some blended hybrid classes, and again, for the reasons I've already noted, it's simply not feasible to do at the secondary level.
Thank you. Next question. Why were parents notified so late, Labor Day, about teachers not being present in the classes because of medical reasons? Dr. Lando?
We did not have the final list of staff members who would be granted accommodations until midday on Friday. And we thought it was appropriate to send out the notification to all parents of all classes at the same time. So even though there were some decisions that had been made earlier that week, the final decisions were not made until that Friday. Once that was done, there was the mechanical challenge of getting all the names from our student database into the parent link database. And we ran into some difficulties in getting that done, both that Friday afternoon and evening over the course of Saturday and Sunday. And then finally was able to complete the task beginning at 5 o'clock on Monday morning and finishing sometime around shortly before 10. It was a task that the efforts to do it in an efficient and filtering way were not successful. And that's the result of the letters. There was no intent to slow things down. And I absolutely apologize to all concerned that we were not able to get this out sooner. We truly wanted to and just could not make it work.
Thank you, Dr. Lando. Next question. Are staff randomly or routinely checked for COVID-19? What if a teacher tested positive? Would another teacher fill in while the class is in quarantine? Dr. Hickey, would you please take that?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. So no, staff are not randomly or routinely checked for COVID-19. That is not a recommendation of the Department of Health, and not something that, as a school, we have the facilities or the personnel to do daily testing. If a teacher were to test positive, it would really depend upon the situation. If an elementary classroom teacher were to test positive, we would have that entire class shift over to remote instruction for a 14-day period while everybody in the class monitored themselves for symptoms. If it were at the secondary level, it's more contact tracing that would be done with the Department of Health. So on a case-by-case basis, we would have to determine if that person had close contact or proximate contact with anybody in the building, and then those people would be quarantined accordingly. The part about another teacher filling in while the class is in quarantine, it's possible that an elementary teacher could test positive and not be symptomatic. They would be able to continue working with their class remotely if that was the case. At the secondary level, the same thing is possible. It would all depend upon how that teacher was, whether they were symptomatic or not, would determine whether or not the teacher could work remotely. If not, we would then get a substitute teacher to work with that class.
Thank you. Please install picnic tables and tents at all school campuses and promote dining outdoors for students. Again, Dr. Hickey.
Okay. So over the summer, we actually did order 100 sets of aluminum bleachers. As of today, 50 of those sets have been delivered, assembled, and dispersed throughout the district. The second shipment, the bleachers were actually damaged, so we had to have them returned. They are arriving tomorrow. They will be assembled and dispersed throughout the district by the beginning of next week. So we are putting bleachers throughout the district at the individual schools so that children have an opportunity to go outside and eat. I've spoken with all of the principals. While all of our schools have not put that in place as of yet, there is a plan at each school to introduce outdoor eating as a practice. Not that every class will eat outdoors every day, but we would have outdoor eating available. And like I said, we will try to encourage that. And again, as Dr. Lando said before, the more that we are outside, the better. That is the recommendation from the CDC and the Department of Health.
Thank you. Next question. Mrs. Berkowitz has met Mayor of Great Neck to discuss the Union Free School District purchase of 61 Baker Hill Road property. Have there been more negotiations, an appraisal, discussion of Union Free School District financing? Amid current crisis, isn't there something that can be deferred? The answer is, I spoke in public at a village meeting well over a year ago. There have been no negotiations. An appraisal was conducted over 5 years ago and nothing since then. There have been no discussions about financing or timing, and as I understand it, the village hasn't even completed evaluating the prospective site for their new village hall. Thank you, Ms. Berkowitz. Next. Can the schools be sprayed for mosquitoes, please? My kids in Lakeville are getting 10 to 12 bug bites a day. This is not an exaggeration. This is dangerous. I am putting on bug spray, but it wears off by snack time. I'm concerned about EEE and West Nile virus. I thank you for your time and effort. Dr. Prendergast?
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. Under regulations by the State Education Department and through social services, no school or daycare center is permitted to apply any types of pesticides to any playgrounds, turf, athletic fields, or lawns. So parents are permitted to apply bug repellent spray on their children before they arrive to school. And if needed, with written consent on file with the nurse's office, bug repellent spray can be reapplied during the school day in the nurse's office. The district is responsible to ensure that there's no standing water on our school grounds, because obviously standing water is what attracts mosquitoes. So we are responsible for that, and we do take that seriously. Unfortunately, there may be times where mosquitoes may be found in other areas that might be bordering school district property, but that is not something that we have any liability or responsibility towards. So again, we encourage the families to please take advantage of the bug repellent spray, and if need be, we can certainly bring that into the schools. But unfortunately, we cannot spray any types of pesticides on any of our lawns.
Thank you, Dr. Prendergast. Next, there might be some redundancy. Can benches be set up so that the kids don't have to sit on the grass to eat? Again, Dr. Prendergast.
Earlier this summer, we purchased and installed 50 low-rising aluminum bleachers at our elementary schools and at Village School, so that students can go outside either with their classes or during reading time or mask breaks, so that children don't necessarily have to sit in the grass. In addition, we're also expecting delivery of an additional 50 bleachers, and those bleachers will also be placed at our 2 middle schools and our high schools for student use. So we believe that the aluminum bleachers will serve our students even better than picnic tables due to social distancing regulations.
Thank you. Next question. Please have teachers face the Zoom camera and stay within a distance that they can be seen and heard by remote students. Often the students are straining to hear important class instruction. I have heard that there are microphones on order, but until then, perhaps they could get ranges of where they can be and still be heard and seen by the remote students. Dr. Lander?
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. So the issue of audio volume quality and clarity for remote students at home is something that we anticipated prior to school opening. So in early August, we ordered wireless microphones for our secondary teachers that will allow them the freedom to move around the classroom while maintaining the integrity of the audio feed for remote students who are participating from home. But unfortunately, the microphones have not yet been delivered. We were recently notified by our vendor that the shipment is stuck at customs, awaiting clearance and release. So as soon as they arrive, they will be distributed to our teachers along with training and support. And they've seen a little bit of training so far. We've talked to them about what they're getting and how they'll use it, but we'll do that when they actually have the device in their hands as well. So in the meantime, we've been working with teachers on the best way to approach this new model of learning. So they have 2 options for video conferencing. So with option number 1, teachers can choose to use their district issued iPad, which has a microphone and a camera built in. So if the teacher chooses to use this option, he or she will be able to walk around the room with the iPad while maintaining clear audio quality since the microphone is built into the device that they're walking around with. And then with option 2, they can choose to use the webcams that have built-in microphones that were connected to the Dell Optiplex teacher stations in every classroom. This option does require the teacher to maintain a close proximity to the webcam, and they have to speak loudly and clearly to be heard by remote students until the microphones arrive. So we've recommended this approach to teachers, that they stay close to the webcam when they've chosen to use that, and we'll continue to remind them of the importance of that as we go forward until the microphones do arrive. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question that we received is also a repeat of the prior one concerning microphones. So it was asked and answered. I wanted to clarify one thing. You may have noticed the board is all together in the same office, which is why we are all wearing our masks. Administrators are alone in their regular offices in the administration building, so there's no need for them to be wearing masks at the moment. And we will now take questions that have been submitted this evening via Zoom question and answer. Dr. Langer, will you head that up?
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. This question focuses on both secondary and primary programs for Holocaust education. What are your plans? I do know that plans were in development regarding teacher development for this as well. What status is that?
I'd be happy to speak for the elementary level, and then maybe Steve can speak for secondary. At the elementary level, there's a lot of work that we do directly with Helen Turner from the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. Helen has worked with the elementary staff in past years, and she's also worked with our 4th and 5th grade students. We will continue to work with Helen Turner this year virtually, focusing on the Holocaust, genocide, anti-bias, anti-hate, and microaggressions. Our work with Helen Turner and other renowned professionals on these topics remains a priority and will always remain a priority. I would also mention that in addition, one example of explicit, specific teaching and learning about the Holocaust in our elementary schools for students occurs in grade 4, when the book Number the Stars is read aloud by teachers as part of the 4th grade historical fiction unit. And this read aloud occurs across all of our elementary schools. Thank you.
Dr. Lando, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, just the work at the secondary level also encompasses work with the Holocaust Memorial Talent Center and Helen Turner as well. And that partnership has been vital. As a matter of fact, just before we broke last year, I had the opportunity to see some of our students from middle school there working with a former staff member who was spending her time at the center as an instructor as well. And so they're doing collaborative work, not just within the district, but across school districts at the middle level. That work will be more challenging to do across school districts in the same way because we won't be taking such trips until they become safe to do. But the work with the center will continue, and the training that goes on and the work with our students will continue, even if done remotely. In addition, our secondary schools are each no place for hate schools, and that in that respect, we work with the Anti-Defamation League. And throughout the curriculum in all secondary grades, there are interwoven themes that deal with anti-bias, with the result of hate, et cetera. And so they're too numerous to mention. However, they have been covered at prior presentations that we've made to the community.
Thank you. Ms. Langell and Dr. Lander, are there any other questions?
Yes, question number 2. One of the promised elements of the reopening plan was bus monitors to enforce mask compliance and social distancing between non-related students. We are 1 week into school and there are no bus monitors in place. There has been a lack of mask compliance and social distancing on certain buses, which puts all at risk. When will bus monitors be implemented?
I will take that question. Thank you, Mrs. Langell. The district is actively pursuing the hiring of bus monitors. I am aware of a particular incident on a bus route where children were not wearing their masks, and I know that building administration is actively investigating that matter. It really is a matter of educating our children, and again, reinforcing the importance of the 3 Ws in terms of making sure that children understand the potential consequences of not wearing a mask. So we are working on that, and we are looking for candidates that we can fill those positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Langell?
Yes, question number 3. Some students have had difficulty connecting to their classrooms while working remotely. What kind of technical support is available to parents and students to get assistance while working remotely? Is it possible to set up a live tech support line for parents and students during the day?
Hi, I'll take that. So in terms of support that's available to parents and students, we have a handful of options for them. The first is that each building has a technology staff developer that they can reach out to. If you don't know who that is, you can find it on your school's website. They would be your first and probably best point of contact for starting out with a technical issue. The schools also host parent workshops during the year, so parents would have the opportunity to learn about the systems we're using, to learn about the device that their student has, and they'd be able to maybe work some things out on their own after attending some of those parent workshops. We also have district technology staff, as well as a dedicated parent support mailbox that our IT support technicians monitor. So parents can email parentsupport@greatneck.k12.ny.us. In order to reach one of those technicians. We have a technician monitoring that mailbox every day to get back to parents as quickly as possible. The reality is we just don't have enough technical support staff to man a phone line all day long. There's just the needs for technical support in the district are too great. And with the staffing that we have, the most efficient way for us to get back to parents is through that email support, or by them working with their technology staff developers first, who a lot of the times can help them, and then they can escalate to the district staff if necessary. Thank you.
Ms. Langell?
Question number 4, can you please elaborate on the letter sent to parents regarding anti-Asian bias? It indicates the school and community are working together to address this issue. What happened that prompted this letter to be sent in the first place, and how is it being addressed? And a similar question was, what is the school district doing in response to the recent incident as outlined in the letter by UPTC?
I'll start with that question, and I know that we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. The letter that was sent to parents came from our parent leadership from the UPTC. The letter did not come from the school district. I just wanted to clarify that. The letter does reference an increase in the number of anti-Asian incidents that are noted both locally as well as at the state and the national level. I do want to make it perfectly clear that there was no anti-Asian incident that occurred in school. Just reminding everyone, you know, schools have been closed since March. We've been open for 7 days. We have not had an anti-Asian incident within our schools. But I do want to reassure and to confirm that the district absolutely remains committed to providing a safe, respectful, and an inclusive environment for students as well as staff. And we denounce any type of biased behavior, and whether it's based on any factors of race, ethnicity, disability, sexual orientation, or any other types of identity factors. We do have, as Ms. Newman and Dr. Lando mentioned earlier, we do have long-standing programs in our district that speak to how we educate children in grades pre-K through grade 12 in making sure that we can support our students in recognition of our school's mission statement, because ultimately at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are raising and educating productive learners that are compassionate and are members of what we know to be a diverse and global society. Thank you.
I just wanted to add one thing. I've been asked to read the statement from the parent leaders, which I shall be doing for discussion. Ms. Langell, are there any other questions?
Yes, the next question, is it safe to use window air conditioners in the classroom?
I can answer that question if that's all right. Yes, it is safe to use a window air conditioner. However, to introduce fresh air, the window has to be opened while the air conditioning unit is running.
Anybody else want to add anything, or do we move on to the next question? Okay, Ms. Langell, do you have another question?
Yes. Are the student desks 6 feet from each other as outlined in the submitted plan, or has that 6-foot distance been adjusted?
No, that 6-foot distance has not been adjusted. We are holding firm to those guidelines.
Okay, we have another question. We have parents in this district who have lost their jobs and might be able to be bus monitors in the short term. Have we gone out to our residents?
I'm just going to pick up on that quickly. I want to do a little checking. Most times we post our jobs on OLAS, the online application system.
Yes, we do.
However, I do not know if the bus monitor jobs are posted there or through our bus company.
It is.
So what we'll do is we'll make sure that our bus monitor spots are on OLAS and available for people to apply such that we can fill those spots. So I would suggest the person start checking perhaps after 10 o'clock tomorrow, just to make sure that our bus monitor spots are open. We do have school, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
Dr. Lando, I'm sorry. I would like to share that we do have substitute bus attendant positions listed on our OLAS application. So if residents are interested, they can go to the Great Neck website and look for the OLAS link, and then they can apply to be a substitute bus attendant. There are some requirements, though, that I would like to point out that is important for people to know. They do have to pass a physical performance test. They do have to fill out a civil service application, and that civil service application has to be approved by and certified by civil service. There is also a training course that they must attend and be CPR certified. So there are some very specific regulations and eligibility requirements to be a bus attendant, bus monitor. They also have to be fingerprinted and cleared by both the state ed department as well as Nassau County Police Department.
Thank you. I'd like to suggest perhaps UPTC may want to post this information on their website in case people are interested or curious about it. Ms. Langell, do you have any other questions?
Yes, we have one more. Will you be adding back SEEK programs in any form?
I can take that one. So as I indicated previously, in order to keep individual class cohorts together and not mixing with other students, we do not have a plan to bring back the SEEK program this school year. However, our hope is that we will bring SEEK back in September, assuming it is safe to do so at that time. I would also mention that our teachers are really excellent at differentiating instruction and really meeting kids at whatever level of functioning they are experiencing and moving them forward. And I have a great level of confidence that our teachers will continue to do that well for all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one more question, Mrs. Berkowitz.
Okay.
Has the new lunch system been worked out yet?
I can take that one. I can tell you right now, there are some technical difficulties with the vendor. So we will be in communication. Mr. Guarneris will be in communication with our residents once we have that all taken care of. But we appreciate your patience. The problem is not on our end right now, but we are trying to work with our vendors so that we can provide this service to our community.
Thank you. I will just ask for a moment, are there any additional questions?
Yes, there was another one. Why can't SEEK be virtual or after school?
Dr. Prendergast, would you or Ms. Newman like to take that?
Would you like me to take that, Dr. Prendergast?
Thank you, Ms. Newman.
You know, it's not something that we had thought about. Certainly we can consider that in a similar way that we considered the possibility of doing something remotely with instrumental music. And I would be happy to explore that opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Newman.
Thank you. Ms. Langell, do we have any more questions coming?
I believe that was it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both for the job that you are doing. It's not easy to be trying to collate questions live during a meeting. Next item on the agenda will be board discussion. I'd like to start that by saying, as I had said, that I would read the statement from parent leaders. Our federal government officials have reported that there's been an uptick in bias incidents across the county. Unfortunately, Great Neck has not been immune to this trend. Starting before the school closure and continuing as recently as this past week in Great Neck, racial slurs and hateful comments centering around the recent pandemic have been directed at young, defenseless children. As parent leaders, we stand together to condemn these acts. An attack against one of our children is an attack against all of our children. Prejudicial comments aimed at one of our children are felt by us all and cast a shadow on our entire neighborhood. The hurt felt by just one of our students is felt by us all, and we are compelled to speak out against it. We stand united in our condemnation of hate speech, negative stereotypes, prejudicial and discriminatory comments of any kind, but especially at this moment in time when we are witnessing the steady rise of anti-Asian bias incidents fueled by rhetoric around the pandemic. As a community, we are thankful of the overarching mission of a Great Neck education, to provide a safe environment for our children to become lifelong learners and compassionate, productive members of a diverse global society. As parent volunteers, we have worked side by side with our neighbors from different cultures, religions, and backgrounds for countless hours for the good of our schools and for all of our children. We are counting on you, our teachers and our schools, to help us preserve this safe and nurturing environment and celebrate the cultural and spiritual diversity in Great Neck, the town that we call home. When can we see our anti-bias and anti-hate programs in full swing again? Dr. Prendergast?
Thank you, Mrs. Berkowitz. Once again, I just want to clarify and just reaffirm to the entire community that our school district denounces any forms of bias and prejudice. We have zero tolerance for discrimination in our schools. And our goal is to empower our young students to be upstanders who show respect for all cultures. Our schools are committed to celebrating diversity and promoting acceptance and inclusion and understanding through our curriculum and our programs. We've worked very hard to develop programs, like I said earlier, pre-K through grade 12, and we will continue to work cooperatively with students, parents, and our community partners to address any concerns in order to further strengthen our existing programs. As it was mentioned earlier, we have practices pre-K through grade 12, including programs and workshop models affiliated with the Anti-Defamation League and our wonderful partnership with the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center. In addition, each of our secondary schools, the 2 middle schools and our 2 high schools, have also been recognized as no place for hate schools. At the elementary and middle school level, our responsive classroom program that Ms. Newman mentioned earlier, it's student-centered, it focuses on social and emotional learning, and it uses evidence-based practices because our goal is to create safe, joyful, and engaging classrooms and school communities. So these initiatives, among many others that I don't have time to mention right now, but we will be posting them on our Office of Instruction website, will, we believe, have long-lasting contributions to help prevent bias within the Great Neck Public School community. And we look forward to continuing our work in this area in the weeks and months ahead. So we've just finished 7 full days of school. And we're very excited now that we have our students back in school to continue moving forward with our curriculums that we have in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fernandez. I just want to remind everybody that this letter was written by Great Neck Public School parent leaders, PTAs, BPCs, etc. But I do want to just mention that for those of us who have been on the board now for years, we have all been involved with cultural enrichment as well as diversity programs in the district for grades K through 12. We continue to support them and be concerned about any infractions of our policies that are set forth. Does anybody else have anything to add? No? Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.